What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? But Texas is different. This is the Coaches Co-op, a masterclass in athletic leadership where coaches connect, grow, and share the grind. I'm your host. Oh my goodness, I'm choking on my own breath. I'm your host, Michael Prejean, better known as Coach P. I think this is episode 34 or 35, somewhere like that. I'm the fortunate one though, because each week I get to team up with coaches across the country to break down the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. This week, I am teaming up with a program builder who has opened not 1, not 2, but 3 schools, captured 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count them, district championships, and been named Coach of the Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. She is currently leading Jordan High School's girls basketball program in Katy ISD. She has built her reputation on one core belief, and that is that talent wins games, but culture builds programs. So with your real hands or with your virtual hands, I want y'all to welcome to the Coaches Co-op, Shalesa Pierce. Coach, how are you today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Listen, I am so glad that you are here. So I know you're going to bless those who watch and listen today. So here's the first thing that we do here in the co-op. This segment is called Talk That Talk. So what I want you to do is talk that talk about what's making your program and your community special right now. Coach Pierce, talk that talk. Go.
Well, as far as our community, man, when it comes to like athletics and Katy ISD, it's top notch. So the amazing thing is that I get the opportunity to work with the really strong coaching staffs of everybody here in our district. The one thing about this district is that every single coach can out coach someone. Like, so you have some really, really strong coaches to kind of, team up with and get feedback from on any given night. But when it comes to things that we do on our campus specifically, like I said, culture is a really big deal, and it's like a keyword or like one of those like words that people kind of throw around often. But we spend a lot of time on what we call our starting 5. So we talk about like resiliency, being humble, making sure that we're leading by example, of holding ourselves accountable, and then serving others. So uh, inputting those values into the kids a lot of times makes the coaching part easier, because if kids are resilient, they can go through the ups and downs of the game. If kids are humble, they're way better at taking feedback nonetheless, willing to give feedback to others. If they're holding themselves accountable, that means that again, they're going to receive feedback well, and they're going to be way more coachable. So we spend a lot of time on making those things our standards early on. And we probably, if you ask the kids, probably overemphasize it, because we talk about it a whole lot more than we talk about basketball coming in. And then if kids learn about on the reward system, we reward it probably more than we reward the basketball stuff. And same way, if kids kind of learn from consequence, we consequence it a lot more than the basketball stuff early on. So we really push those things in our program, and I do think that it makes the basketball easier along the way.
Coach, that's good stuff. So you mentioned the coaches. in Katy ISD. So aside from the coaches who may outcoach you on any given night or every night, what sets girls basketball in Katy ISD apart from other districts?
You know what? As much as we compete, uh, the coaches that are in this district, like we communicate and work together really well. Like there's, you've been in places where coaches that are really good at their job, the egos separate them and probably make them a little bit less accessible, right? Because you want to go and you want to have some basketball talk and you want to learn from them and them learn from you because in conversation, it's a two-way street. You don't want to go try to have a conversation with somebody who really is not interested in having a conversation with you. But I
Right.
will say the girls basketball coaches here in this district, like it's literally a two-way street. Like if I needed something for my own personal kid, they're involved. Like if I walk into a gym and my son walks in, they all know him by name, right? So they're all speaking to him. They're giving him a hug. He's dapping them up because he's seen them and they've made connections with them. The same with their kids or, their family members that they have coming around. So I really appreciate that about the coaches in this district. Um, it's never a day that I walk into a gym and I feel like if I needed something for my program, that they wouldn't do their best to give me the right feedback on that.
That's good. That's good. Okay, Katy ISD. Round of applause for Katy
We do
ISD.
things. Well, it's pretty good
Right.
over here. I'm not gonna lie.
And that's special because you coach for a while, you move from place to place, you get to know people, and that's not common at every place.
Absolutely. And I'm not the go-getter meet people person. So for them to welcome me into the district and and do those things, like I'm a good communicator, I think. But as far as a people person, I got some room to grow. So I would say our coaches here do an exceptional job of just letting people know that they care about people and they care about kids. So I actually really enjoy that about our district.
Okay, so this podcast is not about X's and O's. So this podcast is about the things that happen behind the scenes, right? So I want to know when the coaching bug bit you. But before we get into that, where are you from, coach?
I am from Rosenberg, Texas, by way of California. So I moved to Texas my ninth grade year, and I ended up going to Lamar Consolidated, where I ran cross country, played basketball, ran track, did all the things. So I'm
Okay.
kind of from this area, yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because I was looking, you know, through your questionnaire and I know you got started coaching in Hitchcock. And I was
Uh,
just wondering, how does one
How did you
land?
get to Hitchcock?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally
But don't
understand that.
but we're going to work our way there. I want to know like how you got your start in coaching. Like when did that bug bite you?
I actually think in high school, I actually wanted to do this. Um, if I'm out here name dropping, when I was in high school, my father, who was also he was a coach by way of extracurricular activities. Like that was not his profession. That was something that he just like anybody coming around, if that kid needed help on anything, he's finding a way to help that kid be better at it. And it's not necessarily a thing that he like may have had the knowledge, but he was one of those people who were going to go out and find the knowledge to be able to help that kid. When I was in high school, I was a hurdler and a young man or a parent that was really close to us came and asked me to help their kids with hurdles. Another amazing coach, Tammy Brown. Her son was young at that time, and her daughter, and she was like, "Hey, I really like want them to learn hurdles. Would you come out and work with them?" So I went out and I worked with them a few weeks, working on hurdles. And not to say that I had anything to do with it, but because I was in high school then, let's be honest. But I really enjoyed the concept of being able to help someone else. My parents are both in ministry. So, like, servant leadership is kind of like something that was expected of you growing up. So, I never shied away from that. But I knew that, like, sports was something that I really, really enjoyed, right? Something that I enjoyed learning new things about. So if you enjoy something, you have a passion for it, it's kind of common sense to try to make it, make it your avenue, your job, your career.
I was not anticipating that period in your sentence. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
you're
thought I thought
okay.
you I thought you got to a comma, right? So that's what I'm late coming back up on the screen. Okay. So you talked about your dad. I had a question about your dad, but you kind of already talked about it. So you were a hurdler. So you ran hurdles in college?
I did. I ran hurdles
Okay.
at Texas State and I was a heptathlete.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna ask you some stuff about being a heptathlete off camera because I have a kid that's at UTEP right now. And we've been talking about heptathlon.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about that when we're done recording. So you were talented in both track and basketball. Before I get to my question, see, my ADHD is on now. I want to know what is your PR in the hurdles? Were you a 100 hurdler and a 300 hurdler, or just 100
In
in
high
high school?
school, well, in high school, I was a 100 hurdler and a 300-meter hurdler. So
Okay.
I ran 44.2 in the 300-meter hurdles, and I ran 14.2 in the 100-meter hurdles. Now, at many schools, that 14.2 would have been a record, but Kim Smallwood came before me at Lamar Consolidated.
Okay.
So
The
she
current
holds that.
athletic director.
Yes. So she
Okay.
holds that hurdle record at like a 13.8, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I am a secret track and field fan. Like I absolutely love track and field. Fun fact, not very many people know this, and I mean like maybe a handful of people know this. One year I was a head girls track coach, right?
Okay. Look at
Yeah,
you,
for one
multi-talented.
for 1 year. Okay. So track taught you discipline. Explain that.
Yes. You got to understand, like, when it comes to like team sports, sometimes things can be left up to the perception of the person that's watching. Track is not one of those things. The stopwatch does not lie by any means. So it's a direct reflection of the work you put into it, the work you get out of it. A basketball game, if I'm being honest, if I have a couple of really talented kids on my team, some of those kids may work less, but they could end up in the state championship somewhere. They could end up, in a really good situation based on those around them. Track is the complete opposite. Um, you are the only person that's in control of that space when you're in that space, when you're competing. So the discipline becomes more so a public discipline than just an individual discipline, because the results show up immediately to everyone every single week once you step on the track. So the resilience of dealing with that, I think that's something that, mentally it can work on you, especially as a young athlete, right? Because a lot of times we put our identity in what's happening there. So the resilience of working through that, the toughness that it takes to push through that, and let's be honest, not even track people like going to track practice. So it takes a different type of discipline to do those things well.
Listen, the time that I have spent around track and field, I don't know if I have ever met, and these are the sprinters, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the sprinters right now. I don't know if I've ever met a bunch of athletes who just disliked
Mhm.
like
Every day.
everything involved in getting ready for the track meet.
Because you
Now,
you you work 3-4 hours and you get what, a couple of, maybe if it's, a couple of 15, 30, 25, 50 seconds, out of it that you get to show for it.
yeah, now when I coached cross country, that was actually my thing.
Hmm.
Um, So I was a cross country coach for like 4 or 5 years. Now those kids loved
Oh, they
practice.
love running. Oh,
Love.
distance people, they want to ask you to go run all the time. No, ma'am,
I'm
I do
like,
not.
we're on a bus at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Going to a meet that's going to start at 7, and these are the happiest people in the world. I'm
Absolutely.
like, what is wrong with y'all? What is
Distance
wrong with
people
y'all?
want to go run for no reason. They
For
they
no
they love it.
for no reason. I loved coaching cross country. I hated waking up that early. Okay, so you said the stopwatch does not lie. So when, where, how does the stopwatch doesn't lie philosophy apply to basketball? Can that philosophy be applied to the round ball?
Absolutely. I think it's all in the way that things are communicated to the athlete. And that's one of the concepts that I try to put into my athletes. Like, you've got to understand, like, don't let the, because I mean, let's be honest, if a kid is having a great night and they shoot let's just say they went 75% from 3-point line that night because they did amazing. That's not something that can happen necessarily every single time, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
them understanding that the work that you put into it, that is the only thing that counts. But I feel like sometimes we get into a space with our kids where one or two games and the things that happen within those one or two games can start to shape their identity, and we get away from that stopwatch doesn't lie concept, which is the work that you put in the long run, that's going to show itself. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be a situation where you can just hinge on these one or two games. That's the part of basketball that can be a little bit tricky for kids, right? Because
Mhm.
if we're being honest, there's a bit of luck. Don't get me wrong, that you
Yeah.
you got to work, but there's a bit of luck that's, like those last second shots that people make, that they shoot it from half court, there's a bit of luck involved in some of those things, right? But the ones who do it exceptionally well, it's not luck. It's the part where the time that they put in does not lie when it comes down to it being consistent.
That's good. And I wish that's just a life lesson, right? I'm not going
Mhm.
to just say I wish that our kids understood that. That's something that we need to understand as adults. That's something that we need to
Absolutely.
understand as coaches. So like the work, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. That's it.
Absolutely.
You got to put the work in. So coach, you opened 3 schools. You're the opener. We're going to call you the opener.
At this
All
point.
right. Yeah. So it's right now we're in the middle of the baseball playoffs, and they're running closers out there. You're the opener. So open George Ranch,
Mhm.
then you opened Randall.
And then I got to Jordan in its early years. So they had only been varsity for 1 year. So they were
Okay.
in their third year when I got to Jordan. But
Okay.
if you've ever opened a school, you know that, those first 3 to 5 years until you graduate that first senior class, you know, you're still new.
Yeah. So talent wins games, but culture wins programs. So what does that look like with infant schools? What does that look like?
um, with the exception of my first job, I've always seemed to be placed where growth is needed. So after Hitchcock, I went to Baytown Lee, I went to George Ranch, Randall. Those are very new programs. So it seems that God has this idea that my job is to build things, right? To rebuild, to build, however you want to look at it. Um, I will say that even when I got to Hitchcock, I think they had like some talented girls, but there were some things that needed to be built for us to be consistent. When we got to Baytown Lee, they had not been to playoffs, a very struggling program. We went to playoffs maybe my second year there, where we ended up playing Dulles, where Kelsey Bone was playing at Dulles during that time. But like just building that program and the expectation of what kids knew to be. When I got to George Ranch, we opened and Lamar Consolidated, Coach Dickerson, Dickerson was a coach at Lamar Consolidated. So that's the school that we pulled from. They had a very successful program at that time. They had went to the regional finals. I mean, they were super successful. So those kids, basketball wise, they were committed to her, and rightfully so. So none of those varsity kids came to us at George Ranch. So we opened it with kiddos who were very new to basketball, so to speak. But if I had have only let the talent determine what that program was going to be, then 8 years later we wouldn't be consecutively in the playoffs every year. Like that had to be built even in the tough times. Like we were still holding standards for kids even when we weren't winning games, and finding ways for them to find, small successes along the way to show that they're improving.
So I remember probably not the early years of George Ranch, but I
Mhm.
remember the successful years of George
Mhm.
Ranch. Right? I remember George Ranch being good,
We were
you know,
consistent. Mhm.
and Coach Pierce was the coach at George Ranch when George Ranch was consistently good. So I
Mhm.
want to circle back to Hitchcock just for a second. How did you find yourself in Hitchcock, Texas?
It was another one of those, you're not officially coaching, but coaching moments. So I have some siblings that went to Hitchcock, and they came to the regional meet at Texas State University where I was competing. So of course I go out there to watch, and one of their teammates was long jumping. His form was tragic. So in between the finals, I mean, in between the semifinals and the finals, the next, I think they had them like a couple of hours later. I took him to our practice runway, taught him a few things, and was like, "Hey, this is what I need you to do." So we had a quick coaching session. The kid ended up jumping like 2.5 feet further. He made it to state. So
Wow.
we get to state, and he gets to state, and then the coaches that were there, their AD was there, and this was my senior year in college. So again, it could be God's timing, just putting you in the right places, being willing to serve without getting anything from it. That was probably, a big part of that. So we go to state, and I'm in the stands like coaching him at state. Now, mind you, I've never been to this. Their coaches put in plenty of time with this kid, but just giving him a few pointers that we know from there at state. Kid ended up getting third. He does well. So the AD is like, "When do you graduate?" I was like, "Well, I graduate in May." He's like, "Well, we need a head basketball, track, and volleyball coach." Because when you're when you're at a school that size, you get asked to do all the things. It was like, "Hey, you're going to come in your first year. You're going to be the PE department chair. You're going to be the head basketball, track, and volleyball coach." I was like, and you're young at that point. You're like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely. I'll do it all."
Yeah, let me take that big bite.
Oh yeah, I'm
Wow.
first year coaching, but I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
So um that's actually a story that not a lot of people can tell, right?
Hmm.
And what's the best way to say it? So I know in Denton, Dr. Siobhan Kaiser. Look at me name dropping. I'm name dropping because she and I are both Southern graduates, and it is homecoming week at the Southern University in Agricultural and Mechanical College. Happy
Okay.
homecoming, Jaguars. She was fresh out of college, head coach,
Yeah.
right? You fresh out of college, head coach times three, right? That is a unique experience. A young lady that I was fortunate to coach, fresh out of college, she is a head coach now.
Hmm.
So, what advice would you give to young coaches who are fresh out of college and they're walking into a head coach's role?
Man, I would say lean on the people around you. Because if we're being honest, if they got their head coaching job, the parts that are connected to the on the court, on the field, those parts they've got down packed, right? Like
Hmm.
and even in the parts that they don't know, like let's be honest, Coach Chisholm was the coach at, and she's now retired. She was the volleyball coach, like legendary volleyball coach at Texas State. When I found out that they were going to give me that job, the rest of that semester, I went to volleyball practices at Texas State because I was like, I got to learn some volleyball. I don't know a whole lot about volleyball, but I
Hmm.
learned a lot in that space. Um, I had Jeff Keener was honestly the principal, like he was the principal and the boys head basketball coach at Hitchcock when I got that job. When I tell you he gave me practice plans, he gave me like feedback on how to handle parents. Like it was a perfect mentor at the time because not only did he have like the administrative view, but he also had been to the state tournament, in
Hmm.
basketball. So he had been very successful in that space. But those people literally like walked me through that process because again, the on-court stuff, like what you want to run, the X's and O's of it all, you probably have a really great idea of how to implement those things. But the managing the people, the herding the cats, that part of it,
Hmm.
the feedback that I got from mentorship during that time was super helpful.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So Jeff Keener, major
Mhm.
influence. Don Hood.
That was the coach that recruited me to Texas State.
Okay.
He ended up being he went to Texas Tech. He runs like these legendary pole vault clinics. He's an amazing coach, but now he's the head coach at Abilene Christian. But when I tell you somebody who just speaks life into you, like going into college your freshman year, like competing like just like anything else, you're not competing against just the freshmen you came in with, you're competing against the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors to be able to get on that travel squad.
Hmm.
I had knee surgery going into college. I had knee surgery after two indoor meets in college. Like those things happened kind of back to back, so it was tough. But when I tell you he continued to speak life into me the entire time, you don't get that much from college coaches, especially not now because of the way the climate is, right? They have to win
Yeah.
right away. They have to do those things. So like him and Coach Galina Bukarina, she's the Russian lady that was our coach then. Like when I tell you those people I still talk to today, like they're gonna call me on my birthday. We're gonna call them on their birthday. They know my children,
Yeah.
so like that was an exceptional experience. And they were really, really good mentors on how coaches should be.
That's good. That's good. It's um so having been mentored
Hmm.
and now you sit in the seat of a mentor and you have the opportunity to coach against former players.
Hmm.
So do you see that same type of relationship being built, right? So the relationship that you had with Coach Hood and Coach Bukarina and Coach Keener, are those same connections being made with your former players?
I would say so. So I have at least three players right now that are coaching that I've had to coach against. And when they
Wow.
come back and tell me, because I was the mean person when I was coaching, like, oh my gosh, I didn't like them, like, oh my, all the things, right?
Yeah.
And now they'll send me a text and they find themselves saying, like, oh, Coach Pierce, I'm sorry. Because when I tell you I went
Yeah.
off on that kid today,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But um, they're being mentored by really good coaches as their head coaches now. So when we talk, they literally talk on a professional level. Like they're saying, like, Coach, when we ran this, we've implemented this, and it's
Mhm.
more of a
Mhm.
peer relationship now, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Still, still good friends with their parents, still good, and don't tell them I said this, but still good friends with them, but they better not call me by my first name. They don't know me like that, okay? They still better see me and say, "Hey, Coach Pierce."
Yeah.
I don't think I can pay one of them to call me by my first name right now.
So that's good because at my last stop, My first assistant was actually my first point guard when I became a head coach. There's a 20-year age gap between us. But when she is upset, will call me by my first name and my middle name. And my middle name. And I'll have to be like,
you do not know me like
but
that.
would text me, out of the blue and be like, hey, bestie. Hey, my
Oh
geriatric
my
bestie.
goodness.
I'm like, you know what? You are so disrespectful. But
My
it is.
assistant
Go
right
ahead.
now was my 8th grade point guard at Reading when I first opened George Ranch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That is the neatest thing. I think that's the greatest testament to the work that we do when our kids come back to work with us.
absolutely. That means we didn't get on their nerves too bad.
Not too bad. That there was some good deposits left in there. All right. So 3 former players now coaching, you get to coach against them. So you wear the coach hat, you wear the mentor hat, you talk about helping kids cope with things going on off the court. So you're wearing the counselor hat as well, right? So what is it like having to transition from coach to mentor to counselor to mom and back? What are those transitions like?
I feel like it's less of a transition and they more mesh together because like
It's good.
in all of those roles, you're guiding, setting boundaries, giving feedback, giving praise, um, helping people find solutions, helping them problem solve. Like not one of those roles excludes any of those things that I just said. So I will say, coming home, like your coaching voice sounds differently than when you're mentoring or counseling or being a parent. I think that's something early on as a coach that I had to understand because in my mind, like I said, all those things run together because in your heart of hearts, they all have the same purpose, the same energy, right? You're looking for it to be, you want it to have the same outcome. But, as an early coach coming home and setting boundaries and, with my family and not taking maybe the frustration of coaching or maybe the problem that the kid had and trying to resolve it at home while I'm trying to, spend time with my son or with my spouse. Um, I don't want to say compartmentalizing, but understanding what voice needs to be utilized at that time, I think was one of the most important things that I learned early on. They all don't sound the same. So while they all come together, they just all don't sound the same when they leave, even though they feel the same when we're doing all of them.
That's a gem. The voices, right? So
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you what you need to do, okay? Because nobody's gonna see or hear this for probably 2 or 3 weeks. That's a book. That's a book. So that's also, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. This might be 5, 7, 10 years from now. Whenever I'm running a workshop,
Hmm.
for this type of stuff, I'm gonna bring you in as a speaker,
Okay.
and I want you to talk about those voices,
Hmm.
right? The imagery I just had in my head was multiple personality disorder. Don't ask me
Right.
why. But like that's what I thought about, because all of those things are meshed together. All
Hmm.
of those roles are living in this one body, right?
Hmm.
Um,
And they all generally serve the same, like they're all looking for the same purpose.
yeah. So like the you're a preacher's kid, right? So it's kind of
Hmm.
like what's the passage of scripture I'm thinking of? Paul said, I became all things to all men, right? So
Hmm.
that I might save some. So
Yeah.
that's how I imagine, those different voices,
Right.
so this voice is for this situation, this voice is
Hmm.
for that situation. Coach, that's good stuff right there. I'm
But
happy.
early
That's a
on, as a young coach, I realized that I used one voice to convey
Mhm.
all of those things. So um like I knew I was saying the right things, but the way it was ministered to my son or to my spouse or to that kid who's going through loss or to the kid who's just not working hard or to the kid who is going through relationship problems or the kid who just can't find their confidence, it all came out in the same voice, if that makes
How
sense.
many? Yeah, no, I get it, right? I get it
Hmm.
because here's the thing. Um, how many voices would you say a coach should have?
Oh man, that's an interesting question.
And you don't have to answer it right now. The reason I asked it
Mm.
is because that's the title of your book.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just you just dropping that. Okay.
I'm just
And it dropped.
I'm workshopping this. I'm workshopping this with you, right? Because, and
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this, because no, I'm actually gonna hold on to that. I'm gonna hold on
Okay.
to this one
You'll
thing.
keep that
I'm
for
gonna hold on
yourself.
to this one
Okay.
thing. Yeah. Well, it's not. I'm gonna keep it for now. It's not just for
Okay.
me. It's for everybody, but it's not complete yet.
You
So
want to fine tune it a little bit before you put
I
it
gotta
out
fine
there.
tune it a little bit. All right. So,
Okay.
Coach, I looked at your Mount Rushmore,
Hmm.
and you had. I'm just gonna drop first names because everybody knows who these people
Yeah,
are.
because we're
Okay.
friends. At this point, in my mind, your mind, we're all friends. So
There it is. So Pat,
hmm.
everybody knows who Pat is.
Yes.
Dawn, everybody knows
Hmm.
who Dawn is. Gino, everybody knows who Gino is. And
Absolutely.
Coach K. Those are your
Yes.
Mount Rushmores. Now,
Hmm.
you've been in Texas, you've been down in Hitchcock, grew up in Rosenberg,
Hmm.
George Ranch, you're down in Katy now. So I know you hate being put on the spot, but I just want to ask if you made like a Texas Rushmore, who would you put on
Let's
your Texas
see.
Rushmore?
My goodness. Well, Coach Dixon, for one, I've always admired the way that she like connected with kids. She has, like, not only does she always get talent, a lot of times she got like rough talent, right? That like her kids, when they came into spaces, they played hard and they never, like, they never like got out of pocket. And you could tell they didn't get out of pocket because they knew not to play with her. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest. I
And
think
that's Carlisa Dixon,
yes,
for
like
those of you who may not know.
she's always like her kids just play like with a tenacity or an energy that's like nonstop. But Coach Alexander, uh, from Cyprus is the complete opposite. She seems to be like even keel, relatable. Like when she speaks, it's never like super raised. Like she just communicated with her kids and it worked for them as well, right? So I always admired the fact that she didn't have to like get animated about anything that she did because you could tell that she did all that work in practice. So when it came to the game, it was just like move here, do this, make this decision, and the kids responded. Um, if I kept going down that list, I don't know, it would take me a minute. Just because
Okay.
it's on the spot. But those who come to mind immediately.
And that's good. Man, I'm gonna say this. This is people gonna be mad at me for saying this. I do care. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but I do care a little bit, right? So Summer Creek won state last year.
Mhm.
And man, that team, when I tell you, watching them play, they made me uncomfortable in the stands watching them play defense. I was like, oh, I would not want to have to handle the ball against them.
Right.
Um, but that wasn't, I've seen some Carlisa Dixon coach
I played
teams
against.
I'm like, man, I don't know if that Summer Creek team that won state could have beat some of those Carlisa Dixon teams.
It, I'm, it's a different type of energy, and it's nonstop. And they respond through all the runs. Like we played them, I think it was in 2019, like for to get into regional semifinals. And when I tell you, we came back and we made runs, and I thought it was gonna matter. Like I thought it was gonna like put a huge dent in it. And when they just kept coming and kept fighting, they keep fighting the entire time. So it's just commendable because her energy matches their energy on the floor, like the entire
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So
And
I love it.
it's, yeah. And so when I was at Klein Oak, my first year at Klein Oak, we had a really talented group. And, because of
Mm.
COVID, scheduling is kind of like, hey, if you got a game, I need a game. Let's try to play. So we
Yeah,
played Cypress Creek because I'm like, okay, let me see exactly where
it's
this team is.
the calmest
Right.
butt whooping you ever got, huh?
Oh my goodness.
Calmest butt whooping you ever got.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
The kids were looking at me like, Coach, why? I was like,
Why did you
I want to
schedule
see
this
where
game?
we are. So they beat us by 50 and made it look easy. And my kids were trying, like we were really trying. Like we had
Hmm.
for sure, we had two Division 1 athletes, a
Hmm.
third kid who could have played Division 1 basketball if she stuck to it. So we weren't
Hmm.
pushovers. We actually made it to the regional semifinals that year,
Right.
and they beat the dog out of us.
Like you
Much,
had a good
much,
team.
yes. And oh my goodness. All right, Coach,
Wait,
I
and
got to
and
do.
let me not leave off Pam. Like Pam
Yeah,
Crawford probably is one of my favorite coaches that I've ever coached against, if I'm being honest, because I think she was like my in the middle with like the like not super calm, but not like that's the crazy energy, but the respect that was commanded when she coached very talented teams was
yeah,
commendable. I enjoyed talking to her every time I went to their tournament. I enjoyed being in her presence all the time.
yeah. I think Clear Springs and McCaney, they used to open the season against each other every year,
Hmm.
right? And that was like, man, that was the one of the greatest things. I was an assistant at the time. I wasn't a head coach yet.
Hmm.
And then I think the Greater Houston kind of got away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we're kind of trending back towards that. Like nobody is ducking anybody.
Right.
Everybody wants some smoke.
Hmm.
Everybody will play everybody, and we got great coaches who respect each other and don't mind playing each other. So I think we're kind of getting back to that in the Greater Houston area, and I love to see it. All right, Coach, let me play my commercial here before we move into the next segment.
Okay.
We'll get back to the conversation in a second, but here at the Coaches Co-op, we're all about building championship level systems on and off the court. This episode is brought to you by The Path for Coaches, because iron sharpens iron and real growth happens when coaches support coaches. If you're looking to level up your team culture, fine tune your playbook, or just stay motivated through the grind, check out The Path for Coaches. You can find The Path for Coaches at Amazon.com, or you can send me a direct message on IG at podcast_with_Prejean. Unlock the power of mentoring. Discover ways to be a good mentor and find good mentors with The Path for Coaches, Volume 1 Mentoring. All right. Welcome back to the Coaches Co-op, the go-to podcast for coaches looking to elevate their leadership, culture building, and team success. We are in the co-op with Coach Shalesa Pierce, aka the opener. All right. Coach Pierce, what is the hardest thing about coaching that nobody knows?
I think it's the one I from your peers, it's probably the assumption that you don't care as much about the other aspects of your job, that you're only worried about the coaching aspect. I find myself, because you are a counselor, a mentor, and all the things, like I find myself pulling a kid from class to walk them through things that probably are affecting them in their academics and on the court. And people assume that I'm only pulling them for the coaching aspect or for the basketball part of it. It's like, ma'am, do you understand that 30% of what I do is basketball? The
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
70% is trying to keep this kid functioning so that they can actually, you know what I'm saying, do their job. But while that's the like that, I think that attitude comes from sometimes the parents and the people that you work with. So not only are you having to like manage the coworker part of it, you're having to do it on the parent side too.
Mhm.
So you're on
Mhm.
this team by yourself, right? You're on this team that only the coaches stand on. Because sometimes, no matter what you're doing for the kid, they're going to have the perspective of the people who speak into them the most, right?
Right.
So you're just kind of on this island of, I'm trying to save this kid, I'm pulling on the rope by myself, and everybody else just seems to be hanging on the other end.
Yeah. That was a very eloquent answer. Only the real people will be able to decipher what Coach Pierce actually said. Coach, what's the easiest thing about the job that nobody knows?
Continuing to show up for the kids. I mean, it's almost like I kind of liking it to birth sometimes. I was like, it's one of those things that's hard to do every time you do it, but you would do it over and over again because the joy
Hmm.
or the I don't want to say pleasure, but the self actualization or the fulfillment that you get from it makes it worth doing again. Because sometimes it's painful, it is, but it's still easy. It's not a hard choice. Sometimes it takes a lot out of you and it's draining, but it's still not a hard choice. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
still the easy choice regardless.
Yeah. So I recorded with Coach Houston from Conroe a couple of days ago, and we talked about the pain of coaching,
Hmm.
right? And that I think that analogy that you just gave us was so good, right? That was so good because it's painful, but it's fulfilling,
Hmm.
right? And when we talked about like the program, the program is not the program is the people,
Hmm.
right? The program is the people. Okay, coach, who has a harder job, coaches or officials?
I know the officials get yelled at every now and then, but
Hmm.
I know that they're choosing that pain. But if for whatever reason, after the game, I mean, they get immediate like pleasure or immediate dopamine after that game is over. That paycheck is
Woo.
coming
Yep,
right
that's
then. You
it.
know what I'm saying? Like, when it happens, like there is some immediate gratification afterwards. Unfortunately, in coaching, our gratification is not immediate. And sometimes we're in it for the very long haul. And then it's a 24/7 job. Like how many, I mean, I'm sure that anybody listening to this at any point has gotten a call beyond the hours of which you would prefer to get a call from
Yeah.
your student athletes, or
Mhm.
you up at midnight watching film because if you're anything like me, it's hard to let it go. So that, you losing sleep, you having dreams about it, you wake up with ideas. My coaches will tell you they just turn their phone on silent after games because they know the texts are coming. They
Yeah.
know the
Yeah.
texts
Yeah.
and the film clips are
Yeah.
coming. So
Yeah.
I think emotionally, probably the coaches for sure. M- In the moment, though, like in the moment, I think the referees would say it's them, right? Like in that a moment where the fans are not being gracious, or the coaches are not being patient, or the
Yeah.
kids are reflecting whatever they see on TV. I can understand how they could feel at that moment that they have the tougher job.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I've asked that question 30, 40 times now. And it's about actually it's not 50-50. It's probably about 60-40 coaches. Probably
Hmm.
about 60-40. All right. If you could be anything other than a coach, what would it be?
I would probably be a sports psychologist. Um, I
Okay.
would probably either do that or be in some type of ministry, I'm sure. Because again, servant leadership has always been my purpose. Like I'm very clear in that. So even if I get out of education in itself, it's probably going to look very similar in the aspect of serving people and probably bringing home the same load of taking care of others that it would be if
Hmm.
I weren't in education. It would be just less of the education red tape.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. This is not a question that I have lined up. Um, but if you were like a minister, let's say you became a preacher, right?
Hmm.
And it's like Prophetess Pierce.
Oh, wow.
Um, would you be a hooper, or would you be
Absolutely
more
not.
of absolutely okay?
Oh,
That
I
was
can
quick.
answer that right now.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. That
That
is
was quick.
no.
I didn't
I
even
would
get to the
definitely
other
be a
part of that.
teacher. You did. You didn't even have
Okay.
to get to it because I knew where it was going. No, that would not. Um, I am less of the emotional um communicator and more of the logical communicator for sure.
He got up. Okay, here we
Nope.
go.
On the third day. Yep.
Um, Coach, play a game with me.
Okay.
All right, so um, we're gonna call this game 7-spot shooting with Shalesa.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna shoot for 3 rounds. Okay, and it's gonna be 7 shots in each of these rounds. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a prompt. You're gonna give me a quick answer. No overthinking, no filtering, just pure coaching instinct. 7-spot
That's not my
shooting with
way.
Shalesa.
I'm an overthinker,
Okay,
is what I do. Okay.
all right. So round one is gonna be either or. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm gonna be.
All right, here it is. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
Building a new program or rebuilding an established program?
Building a new program.
Track discipline or basketball passion?
That's a hard one. Pass. Can I
Oh,
have
you
both?
can't
I can
pass.
I can have
You
both.
can't pass. That's the first pass ever.
Basketball passion. I'm going with
Okay, okay. Tough love or gentle guidance?
tough love.
Practice or game day?
Practice.
Music at practice or silence and focus?
Music at practice.
Perfect season or perfect chemistry?
Perfect chemistry.
All right, that was round one of 7-spot shooting with Shalesa. Round two is agree, disagree. Agree
Okay.
or disagree. Okay, here we go. Tough love coaching still works in today's game.
Agree.
Every athlete needs to play multiple sports.
Agree.
There is more pressure on coaches than ever before.
Agree.
Winning cures all problems.
Disagree.
Coaches should have mandatory training in mental health.
Agree.
Social media has been good for high school athletes.
Disagree.
Okay. It's harder to be a head coach than run track in college.
Agree. I'm like,
Okay.
well,
Okay. Okay. All right. That was round two. 7 shots. That was 7 shots. All right. Here we go. Round three. This is the last round of 7-spot
okay.
shooting with Shalesa. This is the first time I've actually done this particular game on the podcast. So
Okay.
you're the first guest to do this. This is word
Appreciate that.
association. All right.
Okay.
Word association. Remember, first thing that comes to mind, coaching instinct. Here we go. First word is pressure.
Needed.
Senior night.
Stressful.
Fourth quarter.
Let's go.
Summer.
Family.
Parent meeting.
Have multiple.
Oh, that's good. Locker room.
Sacred.
And the last word is failure.
Part of the process.
All right, coach. See, that wasn't too bad.
It wasn't
That
too
coach,
bad.
that coaching instinct kicked in and bam, you handled it. All right, coach. This brings us to crunch time. This is the last 5 minutes of the podcast. Crunch time runs like this: 3, 2, 1. Three in the key. Three things that all coaches or athletic professionals need. Two
Okay.
shots, two of the most foul or toughest challenges you have experienced in your role. And the last thing is, and one thing you'd like to share before we get out of here. So,
Okay.
Coach Shalesa Pierce, let's start with three in the key. What are three things that all athletic professionals need?
One, culture and leadership. Culture meaning like who you are and how you want that to look from other people. Like I think people think of like culture as a buzzword, but it's really more of a personal thing. Like who you want your kids to be when they're away from you and when they're around you, and who how you want people to see you. Leadership meaning that you're gonna have to, when you come up with that culture, you're going to have to be the first person to work to make sure that's implemented. You're going to have to make sure you're not only being resilient in taking feedback from others, because sometimes it comes uninvited, but you're going to have to be really good at learning ways to impart that feedback on others to the point to where they can hear it. A lot of times as leaders, we think if we say things um, that everybody should abide by or should kind of jump to, but you got to remember, can't be a leader without followers. So you want to make sure that you're creating followers or people, or you're creating a space where people want to follow you, not just that you're calling yourself a leader. Resilience and mental toughness. The setup of this, not even so much the setup of the game, but the setup of the culture that's been built around a game could break a person if they're not resilient and mental tough. Like the buzzword that's going around for like mental, for mental health is like, oh, mental health, like, we should be, yeah, we should be aware of kids feelings, yes we should, take into account the things that they are going through. But our job as basketball coaches is to build mental toughness. Yes, mental toughness requires you to be aware of their mental health, but our job is to teach them how to mentally overcome hard things, not just acknowledge. We always talk about those higher tiers of learning, like identifying. Saying mental health is identifying. That's identifying that kids are going through tough things, that they have problems in their life, that, this basketball thing is hard, but the mental toughness is the higher level of thinking. Those are the problem analysis, problem solving skills that we need to teach kids to do. And especially us as
Hold
adults, we need to have the same thing.
Before you go to the next thing, coach, what you just did is the epitome of why this podcast exists. You just taught, you broke down the importance of mental health, right? And mental toughness. You were like, no, just like on Bloom's taxonomy, it needs to
Mhm.
be up here. So
Yes.
being aware is one thing. Coach, book number two. That's book number two. Book number two. I okay, let me back out of here and let you finish your three in the key. What I don't
Okay.
know if you know what you just did, coach. I don't know if you know what you just did, but I'm back.
Okay. Okay. And last, relationships and mentorship. A lot of times we don't get to choose to be mentors to our kids or the kids that are around us. I end up mentoring way more kids than the ones that are in basketball, because the basketball kids bring the other kids to me. The officers bring the other kids to me. So the way that we like build relationships with our kids, that's going to overflow to the rest of the campus. So make sure that like make sure that the kids understand not only the boundaries of the relationship, right? The spaces that they have to reside in order to be in relationship with you, right? Because I explain that to the parents when we go in, like this, us, your kid being on this team, this is a relationship. You, as a parent, being a part of this team is a relationship. So I get to set the boundaries, on how this relationship is formed. And I'm going to communicate those boundaries to you. And in order for us to stay in relationship, here are the things that are required, right? Same thing with parents. In order for me to be in relationship with you, there are some minimum things that are required. So you have to be aware, like everybody's aware of those things that are required to stay in relationship. And when we get out of bounds, everybody understands that what that looks like and what those natural consequences would be, right? So communicating those things early help build healthy relationships between you and your athletes, because if they're not sure where those boundaries are, then they struggle to build like strong and healthy relationships with you, right? Because the happiness and the joyful parts of it, those are all necessary. Them being able to come to you at any point in time, all those things are necessary, but establishing those clear boundaries are necessary too. And then mentorship, just make sure that when those kids leave you, that they're able to mentor someone else. Same as my coaches. Like I feel like if I ever left, like if something ever happened to me and I were not in practice for a week or two, I feel like my kids would be able to run some practices. Like they would know what to do because they've been mentored in a way that they understand the importance of what we're doing. Same with the coaches. Like you want those coaches to be able to, if something happened to me and they had to be the head coach the next day, that they feel comfortable doing so because they've been mentored in a way that gives that empowers them, right? That doesn't make them feel like, well, I just gotta wait in line and do whatever you tell me. Like they feel empowered to be able to say, no, these are the expectations, these are the things we do, this is how we conduct ourselves.
I'm as soon as we're done recording, I'm just gonna go ahead and play this back because I need to go and take notes. I need to go and take notes. All right, coach, 2 shots.
Mhm.
2 of the toughest challenges or foulest things that you have experienced in your current role. We call this 2 shots. What you got, coach?
Okay.
Go.
One of the toughest things is setting boundaries for me as a coach, like with like time for my kids, time for home, time for myself, right? Because if you're an all-in type person, you generally go all in on all the things. So as I've gotten older, I've learned that you only have one cup, and that cup is so deep. So being able to fill that cup so that you have something to pour into the family, the students, the staff, the games, that's super important. So that has been tough for me because pouring, like filling my own cup feels like selfish, or it feels not necessary, because we all as coaches, clearly we're resilient and we think we're like we know we're strong, we know we can withstand things. So we just do a really bad job of filling our cup. So that's been a tough lesson for me over time, but I'm trying to get better at it. And do I have two tough things or just one?
Two.
Two.
You can, but if you want to stop at one, that's okay.
I think that's been the toughest thing for me
Okay.
over time. Like I truly do. But I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
Yeah, it is. So we talked about the program being the people earlier. So when we talk about investing in the program, the amount of time and energy that is spent investing in other people, right?
Mhm.
And then it's almost kind of like we're Plastic Man. We get pulled in so many different directions, and we don't. When you sit in the head coach seat, you don't always have the luxury of putting your phone on D&D,
Or
right?
being
And
like
that's
that, being poured back into. You just,
yeah. So
yeah,
so how full is your bucket? So you're pouring it out. Who's pouring back into you? All right, coach, this brings
absolutely.
us to the very last thing in this podcast. We call this and
Mhm.
one. This is one thing that you would like to share before we get out of here. Coach Pierce, give us and one.
The one thing that I've had the opportunity, well, this is my 21st year in coaching. And just reminding everybody that what we do goes way beyond the buzzer or the final game because we have a passion for the game. Those parts mean a lot to us, right? Like those wins and losses mean a whole lot. I can't tell you how many times I've had coaches like come into interviews and they talk mostly about like their win and loss record. Like I've won here, I've done this. And that's just a very small part, of what we do as head coaches. Like if you're taking care of the kids, your kids are doing well in school, your kids are resilient, your kids are learning new things, your parents are engaged in the program. Um, those are the type of things that will build longevity as a head coach. Um, but it's hard to it's hard to find the time to focus on that when because we are in region 3 and in Houston or wherever we may be, it's so competitive, right? So there has to be time well spent on the craft of what we do in our game. And there is some emphasis on the wins and losses. But, everybody just remembering that, what we do goes way beyond that last buzzer of the game. I think that's the best thing that we can do for ourselves and the best thing that we can do for growing our kids.
Listen, everybody, thank you for joining us here in the Coaches Co-op. Big thanks to today's guest, Shalesa Pierce, for sharing her journey and all of her wisdom. If you are walking away with new insight or energy for your team or your program, then we did our job tonight. Here's what I need y'all to do. I need you to hit that like button, follow, subscribe. I need you to do all of those things. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. I cannot talk tonight. Your ratings and reviews help other coaches find us. Share the show and help us grow the Coaches Co-op community where coaches do what most people can't. Listen, y'all, for Coach Pierce, I'm Coach Prejean. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and we'll see y'all next time in the Coaches Co-op. Good night.